I have multiple tools working all the time, right? I do use Cursor, but my work in Cursor, it's sort of like a backseat driver, right? As I'm typing, it's suggesting what's next, and a lot of times I'm rage spamming the escape key, like, no, I don't want that suggestion.
No.
But I have noticed that if I turn it off, I miss it, right? So I
Interesting.
don't want to turn it off, but it's like a backseat driver. It's somebody giving me, hey, watch out for that intersection. Oh, did you know that, right? And so it's really good in that regard, and I think there it makes everybody more productive, right? So I can't see somebody being serious about a development job where they wouldn't have that kind of supervisor.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, I've also got in another window, to the point where I have to have it alert me when it's done. I've got another window running background jobs, right? Where I want it to, rebuild a user interface, or I want it to, I've got one example of how to do something, and I want five, right? Where it fails, though, and this I've seen it go off the rails miserably, which is another reason why professional developers are in no danger.
Right.
Is when is the AI slop problem, right? AI slop is when it just starts creating bulky code that does nothing, and that's very real. It's very real, and there's a huge cost of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, look, there are insidious kind of problems in coding where you spend half an hour trying to get it to not do something, right?
Yeah.
And the model is really good at helping you find those. It's like you have to point the flashlight. You have to be in the right place, and sometimes I know in these 10 lines of the code there's a problem. I don't know what it is, so I'll just open a comment. I'll tell it start a comment, and it'll fill in. Oh, but this doesn't deal with the case where it's an edge case. It's midnight on a leap year, and this kind of thing. It's absolutely brilliant for those cases. And I love it for any kind of bulky work. Like, all right, I just did a bunch of work. Comment that, right? Explain why it's doing what it's doing.
The way you're describing it to me, sort of, if we sort of, rather than describing this as pair programming and vibe coding, it's a spectrum, and sort of how you use it and where you lie on that spectrum is very much sort of associated with where you are in terms of your capabilities and what you're trying to do. And the way you're using it feels a little bit more to me like some of the pair programming type model, than maybe just the pure, hey, I'm wandering around my keyboard coming up with ideas and vibe coding it. But the way you're describing it to me sounds like it's sort of super beneficial, scalable up into the enterprise level, in a way that is the 3x, 5x, 10x to productivity.
Especially considering we're only at the beginning of models that were trained
Right.
to code, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these things learned programming languages because they learned language. Like, imagine if we especially trained it, compared to the number of training examples it has for Chinese or English, the number of programming examples it has is tiny, right? So it's only going to get better, I guess, is where I'm going. Even with today's technology, these coding models could get much, much better than they are, and they will.